Class warfare the only resort to right-wing doom? It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States. And of course, good morning to the world receiving the signals through our magical internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by the DoD under the auspices of we the people of the United States of America. Anyway, folks, it's now much under the control of our plutocracy, our oligarchy. And you know what? Little by little, more is being taken over. But guess what? We have the fight. We have the people. We have the voice. We have the power to take back that which is ours. Remember, America doesn't belong to the few. It belongs to all of us. All of us, Native Americans, everybody. And we have a lot to atone for, and we will. Anyway, without further ado, let's move on to the geniuses in the studio, Senor Howard Reynolds, Jacques Van Beba, and Mayana. How you doing this morning? Great people?
We're doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. What's happening, folks? What's happening? We've got to change America and the world.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am doing fine, my brother. What's the wisdom of today?
Well, the wisdom of the day is your post of, later last night, and my little jackism here. Mainstream media speaketh with corporate tongue. The stark contrast between corporate and mainstream media coverage of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki reveals the urgent need for journalism free from government and corporate influence. Mainstream media outlets systematically mislead audiences while independent journalists risk everything to deliver the truth that serves the public interest rather than the power structures. New York Times reporter William Lawrence served as both journalist and War Department special consultant, being paid by both entities while writing Pentagon press releases and romanticizing atomic destruction. Contrast that with Australian journalist Wilfred Burchett defied military censorship to report firsthand on radiation sickness, warning the world about the atomic plague. The War Department deliberately suppressed radiation sickness reports, labeling them as Japanese propaganda while promoting a sanitized accounts through embedded reporters like Lawrence. Turn the page. The American people deserve journalism that serves their need for truth rather than serving the interest of those in power. You know, they crucified a man a long time ago for speaking truth to power.
Yes,
And
they did.
I don't see anything's changed.
Well, you know what? We are going to make sure that, those people whose testosterone continues to flow, continues to flow. I should say inadvertently, just continue to flow. We're going to have to throw some estrogen on that because I tell you what, this is not going to continue. But anyway, Mayan, anything you have to say before I get started?
Have a good show.
Ah, I like that real 3 words. Have a good show. 4 words. 4 words. Okay, let's get busy. Anyway, folks. Yeah. I have one video to play, and it- at Netroots Nation. Amy Goodman gave what I think was likely the most important speech of the keynote, and I say that because we get nowhere if we have an uninformed population. And we have an uninformed population if we rely on a media who owes its existence to the corporate structure. There was a time, a more simple time, when things had a certain order. And it was no big deal that, yeah, the media has always been controlled by the corporations that advertise on the media, etc. But they had a certain moral authority. And that moral authority was we had a great separation between the entertainment portion of TV and the independence of the mainstream media. And while the mainstream media had always been biased to our economic system, biased to the American way, if you will, there was a morality there that kept everything fenced, kept everything marshaled. Not the perfect freedom that we all aspire to, but a marshaling that kept a certain order. Now we have a marshaling that is tantamount to enslavement. And many don't like when I call us, we American people, uh, whenever I use the word enslavement or antiseptic slavery and these terms, people sort of that irks them. That used to be relegated to just a certain people, not all of us. But when we realize that all of us actually are in the same boat, we reinstitute, or we should be reinstituting the Bacon's Rebellion. Those who don't know about it, look it up, my dear brothers and sisters. The Bacon Rebellion. One of the genesis, notice I said one of the genesis that created what the plutocracy, those in power, realize is the only way they could maintain absolute power. But before I go to the video, Brother Tag is on the line early, so let's take Brother Tag and then we'll go to the video. Come on in, Tag.
Hey, Egberto, how are you?
I'm doing fine, my friend. Talk to me.
Well, I've been having this little rant bouncing around inside my head, and I wanted to get it out. You know how
Get
that
it
is.
out, brother. Get it out.
The old saying, "Freedom is not free." You're familiar with that, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Who is it that uses that, leans on that rant? Is that more of a conservative rant, or is that a progressive liberal rant?
I consider that a progressive rant, to be honest with you, because what we're seeing right now is the rhetoric of freedom. But in order to really have freedom, we have to invest in it. And I'm gonna turn it right back over to you, but I want to say something. Freedom ain't free. The first people, while it should be our rant, the people that realize that freedom, the way they want it, ain't free, are the folks on the right because they invest in the misinformation of their people. They invest immensely in their bloggers, their radio hosts, they invest immensely in all of that, orders of magnitude over us. I mean, if you go to a Trump rally, you see all those Trump hats, those Trump signs, those Trump towels, those Trump strollers, all of that. All of those are overpriced goods that poor people, people that don't have a pot to do you know what in, are using their last dollar, searching and yearning for a freedom that the orange man, a freedom that the Fuhrer is promising them, that is nothing more than a facade of enslavement. I mean, a facade of freedom covered as enslavement. Continue, brother.
Well, I think you understand the gist of what I'm saying here. You know, if you go back to Bernie Sanders or AOC or Mondavi, Hillary Clinton, you know, they'll all tell you that, you know, in order to perpetuate a progressive ideology, you know, you're going to have a hell of a fight to be able to do that in our society today. If you go to the 2025 project and Trump, well, they have the freedom to do what they want to do right now. And I think there's a big disparity about right wingers. They think they need the freedom to do the conservative thing. And I think a
Exactly.
lot of us are saying, no, we don't want that. We have to fight against your freedom. Arnie was just talking about public schools versus private schools, and there's a big disparity there about freedom. Are you free to have the schools you want, or are you free to have public schools? I mean, freedom is not free, but everybody's fighting for their own version of freedom. And I think that's something that we've got to acknowledge, that, because you think something is free, it doesn't mean it's free for us. So
Yeah,
that was kind of my rant for this morning.
I want to add a corollary to what you just said, because I don't want to look, the difference between what what a conservative would say they have the freedom to do and what a progressive would say they have the freedom to do is here. One is restrictive and one is expansive. In other words, conservatives want the freedom to enslave a woman's body. Conservative wants the freedom to enslave a couple's sex life. Conservatives want the freedom to tell you what commandments you should be, what religious commandments you should follow. They want the freedom to be able to tell you what to do. We want the freedom, progressives want the freedom to tell conservatives that if you want that within your community, feel free to have it. Just don't impose it on my community. If you want to have the freedom to do all these other things, hey, it's fine. Do it. If you want the freedom to have a restrictive marriage and freedom to have restrict whatever you want to do, you're free to do it. Just don't ask everybody else to do so as well. We believe in the freedom of having unadulterated education. They don't.
The check this diametrically opposed freedom issue. Red states want to have the freedom to be able to get federal money from Washington that's being paid by the blue states. So the blue states have been quite liberal about charging taxes and sending money to Washington. And then you have the red states who don't pay taxes, and they want to be free to take the money from Washington. Now, Texas is a little different, but still.
No, no, no. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Texas is just as guilty. Texas is a negative on the government with all the oil that it produces and so forth. So let's be clear here. And you bring up a very important point. Red states are welfare states. Red states boast about low taxes. Red states boast about government expenditure not being all that large. And in order to be able to have that boast, blue states send money to every single red state, but I think one or two, I don't quite remember. And dependent, and Texas is right at the break even point. Texas is a big, rich state, but I think a couple of times they fall under the dollar number. But again, you hit a very important point. The conservatism in not giving health care, the conservatism in not giving education, the conservatism in not charging taxes. All of that is at the expense of blue states who subsidize red states. And even with that subsidy that blue states give to red states are less educated. Red states are sicker. The people in red states are much sicker than the people elsewhere. The red states as well, over the years, the ones that have done grab their environment are environmentally sick, and in that regards make people sick. Yes, you want this type of policies. Understand that there are consequences for the policies, and the consequences is, again, if the media, and here's where it go tag, and I'm afraid Amy in a little bit, but the media not reporting accurately have conservative states, the people in the conservative states, believing that they have something that works, when the reality is the only reason it has a semblance of working is that the welfare they get from the federal government, from the blue states, is what keep them afloat. Thank you very much, Tag. You have a wonderful day. Let me get Amy played, all right?
Thanks, Egberto. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, brother. Peace. Okay, folks, here it is. The way news is reported has much to do with how we frame the American mind. One of the reasons why Donald Trump has been successful in being elected in the first place, reelected, is yes, because the mainstream media has been poor in telling the absolute truth, in telling the consequences of having different leaders being elected. Yes, it is true that the opposition party has been poor in getting the vote out, etc. It's been poor in investing in the community. But again, the fourth estate, the mainstream media, the corporate media, one would think would be there to give the unadulterated truth, fact-based information, and not allow all our airwaves to be used to really mislead the people. Well, that's not what happens. We know factually that the mainstream media cowers to the government. And when I say the government, I'm not talking about the good part of government. They cower to corporations. They cower to keeping that eye open for us all. The only reporting entity that otherwise do the right thing, it's the independent media. Whether that be the Pacificas of the world, the NPRs of the world, the individual bloggers, the individual writers of good repute, those are the folks that now in today's world where we can find the unadulterated truth and facts. We have to find them. And when we find them, we have to support them to make sure that the truth tellers, the ones that are given the proper narrative, remain in existence. I want to play a piece from Amy Goodman's, Democracy Now!'s Amy Goodman's keynote speech at Netroots Nation, because what she does in that speech is she gave two different accounts of the United States dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima from the corporate media, the bought media, and then from independent media. And when I heard that in the keynote speech, that really hit home, because it was saying that we are victims of the reporting we get. So we get good reporting, we make good decisions. If we get bad reporting, uncorroborated reporting, our decisions are that much poorer. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
It's not only the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, it's also the 80th anniversary of the dropping of the only atomic bombs ever used. One August 6th, 1945, the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. Well over 100,000 people killed there. And 3 days later, today, August 9th, 1945, the second atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki. And I want to talk about the importance of independent media in talking about this story. One of the people who was in the squadron of planes that dropped the bomb 80 years ago today on Nagasaki was the New York Times reporter William Lawrence, known as Atomic Bill Lawrence. This is how he described the detonation over Nagasaki that incinerated or irradiated some 100,000 people. Lawrence wrote, "Awestruck, we watched it shoot up upward like a meteor coming from the earth instead of from outer space, becoming ever more alive as it climbed skyward through the white clouds. It was a living thing, a new species of being born right before our incredulous eyes, he said. He wrote, being close to it, watching it as it was being fashioned into a living thing. He's talking about the atomic bomb, so exquisitely shaped that any sculptor would be proud to have created it. One felt oneself in the presence of the supernatural. I want to compare his reporting to that of Wilfred Burchett, an Australian journalist who defied General MacArthur's blockade of all of southern Japan, saying journalists could not go there, but wanted to see with his own eyes. And he took a train for 30 hours and he ended up in Hiroshima. He saw the shadows of people seared into walls and sidewalks. He met people with their skin melting off in the hospital. He saw patients with purple skin hemorrhages, gangrene fever, and rapid hair loss. Burchett was among the first to witness and describe, well, what is now known as radiation sickness. He sat down in the rubble with his baby Hermes typewriter, and his dispatch began in Hiroshima 30 days after the first atomic bomb destroyed the city and shook the world. People are still dying mysteriously and horribly. People who are uninjured in the cataclysm from an unknown something, which I can only describe as the atomic plague, he said. He went on to say, Hiroshima does not look like a bombed city. It looks as if a monster steamroller has passed over it and squashed it out of existence. He wrote, I write this as a warning to the world. This report that was sent around the world shook the U.S. War Department. General Leslie Groves, they understood how dangerous it would be. They denied the radiation sickness, said it was Japanese propaganda. They brought William Lawrence, their reporter, I'll explain why in a minute, back to the Trinity test a few weeks before to try to prove that there's no such thing as radiation sickness. They called it Japanese propaganda. William Lawrence wrote a 10-part series on the dropping of the atomic bombs. He won a Pulitzer Prize for this. Oh, I forgot to mention, it turned out he was not only being paid by the New York Times, he was also being paid by the War Department, by the Pentagon. And he would write the press releases for Secretary of War Stimson and President Truman, very proudly saying how much he appreciated pushing the atomic effort. We need independent media. That warning to the world is so important. But that's the good news being here in New Orleans, because there is independent media. I want to congratulate Current Affairs on their 10th anniversary. I want to thank the stations that run Democracy Now! Here, like WHIV, which is sponsoring the after party and is so important. WLAE, public broadcasting, is under so much attack, which broadcasts Democracy Now! WTUL at Tulane, WBOK, also WAMFLP, community radio. These are important independent media outlets. There's a reason why President Trump has clawed back, has ended the Corporation for Public Broadcasting by clawing back $1.1 billion that was already allocated. He's afraid of independent media. And I also want to acknowledge my colleagues at Free Speech TV who are doing interviews here through these days. And we're carried statewide on LPB3, Public Broadcasting third digital channel, weekdays live at 7 a.m. There is independent media that's thriving here and all over the country. It just needs your support because it is people-powered. Now, I'm going to speak super fast. I come from Pacifica Radio, which was founded in 1949 out in the Bay Area in California by a man named Lou Hill. He was a war resistor, came out of the detention camps, and then said there has to be a media outlet that is not run by corporations that profit from war, but by journalists and artists. And that's how Pacifica Radio was born. As George Gerbner, the late dean of the Annenberg School of Communications, would say, not run by corporations that have nothing to tell and everything to sell, that are raising our children today. And so KPFA went on the air in 49, KPFK in Los Angeles in 59, my station in New York, WBAI in 60, where you'd hear debates between Malcolm X and James Baldwin, the effectiveness of nonviolent civil disobedience. WPFW in Washington in 77. Oh, and well, Alberto is here from KPFT doing nonstop interviews as well. KPFT went on the air in 1970. Within weeks, the Ku Klux Klan strapped dynamite to the base of the transmitter and blew it to smithereens. When they got back on their feet a few weeks later, rebuilt the transmitter, the Klan strapped 15 times the dynamite to the base of the transmitter and blew it up again. It would take months before they could rebuild. Oh, I think it was blown up in the middle of Arlo Guthrie singing Alice's Restaurant, and I thought that was a good song. But anyway, January of 1971, they went back on the air. Arlo Guthrie came back to Houston to finish his song, and it has been broadcasting ever since. I can't remember if it was the Grand Dragon or the Exalted Cyclops, because I often confuse their titles, but he said it was his proudest act. I think that's because he understood how dangerous Pacifica is, how dangerous independent media is. Dangerous because it allows people to speak for themselves. And when you hear someone speaking from their own experience, it breaks down the bigotry and caricatures. When you hear a Palestinian child crying out for food or their mother, when you hear an Israeli grandmother, when you hear an uncle in Afghanistan or an aunt in the South Bronx. It challenges what you know. You don't have to agree, but it makes it much less likely that you'll want to destroy the person. I think the media can be the greatest force for peace on earth. Instead, all too often, it's wielded as a weapon of war, which is why we have to take the media back.
Now, folks, it is important, again, that we support independent media. Yes, it's self-serving for politics done right as well, but we are the ones that are really informing the American constituency, because when you have the CBSs of the world making deals with the Trump administration, when we have all these other social media, corporate media folks making deals, you know that you're not going to get the information. You know you're not going to get the narrative. You know you're not going to get the research that provides any kind of backstop to what these folks are doing. So again, thank you, Amy. We need independent media. Please support all of us.
All of our country's problems.
Now, let me tell you guys something, because this is something that I wanted to add that Amy didn't point out with the atomic bomb. The atomic bomb was developed, I think it was in New Mexico, and they tested it in those sparsely populated deserts of New Mexico, right? Well, let me tell you another story that is rarely told. Recently, I think they did a Netflix piece on it, etc., but it wasn't told. On July 16, 1945, the United States carried out the first atomic bomb test, known as the Trinity test. That's what she spoke about. After that is what she spoke about. In New Mexico, near Alamogordo, just about 50 miles from Ruidoso. Ruidoso is a beautiful hilly valley. A summer dance camp held 12 girls, including 13-year-old Barbara Kent and other students, along with their dance teachers. At 5:30 a.m., a massive shock wave awakened them, followed by a bright light and warmth, signs of the atomic blast. Later, they witnessed what appeared to be snow falling from the sky. They ran outside, played in the falling white ash, caught it on their tongues, and rubbed it on their skins, believing it was harmless snow. In reality, it was radioactive fallout. No warnings were issued. The federal government prioritized secrecy over safety told local officials that the explosion was a conventional munitions dump. Residents were assured none of those young, beautiful women lived over 40 years. Oh, only two lived over 40 years old. All of them dead before they were 40. When we don't have reporting, when we don't know things, by the way, these girls didn't know that radiation fallout was what killed them. They didn't know that their own country sacrificed them. I mean, the country could have uh, warned folks if there's fallout, if there's this, there's that. Protect yourself without revealing any real secrets. They could have done all of that. But again, that is how that is how the evil thinks. A lot of our leadership. If we get evil leaders, we get evil results. I don't know if you guys remember. I remember vividly when we were about to attack Iraq the first time, and I remember Bernard Shaw of CNN in a hotel room. They knew exactly what hotel they could be in Baghdad because they knew where the bombs were going to be decimating. And as you watch those bombs and missiles and cruise missiles and all these things rain down on Baghdad, I mean, I remember watching it on TV vividly. It looked like Star Wars. It was beautiful. And, it looked like you were watching a game. And I remember turning around and looking at my wife and saying, look at how they're talking about this stuff. Under each one of those beautiful lights and bombs falling, there are mangled bodies, dead people, people with their heads blown to smithereens. All of that occurring. And the way we are advertising it, the way we are providing it as news, it's so antiseptic. We don't understand that we're killing massive numbers of people. So we get immune to it. When when Manuel Antonio Noriega, Panama's dictator, decided that they were no longer, or he was no longer, going to support the CIA involvement in a Central American country, they knew Manuel Antonio Noriega was a master capitalist. He was providing a service to drug dealers, providing the interchange to get drugs to the United States of America because America loves drugs. So he was doing what capitalists do. And the first Bush administration was happy to let him do it while he was working for the CIA. As soon as he turned on them, they decided that they were going to capture Manuel Antonio Noriega. His country wasn't safety enough for him because we could send the American military to pick him up. And in the process, because we don't like to take American casualties when we're going into somewhere to take over, to do our imperialist job, we don't. So we softened up Panama City and Colon, the city that I'm from. We softened it up. We just lay loose and bombed it to smithereens. It turns out that the Cuartel Nacional, the places where the military congregate, are generally in populated areas. In both cases, surrounded by tenements where thousands of Panamanians live. And they just opened up, and the sky was beautiful. And I was in the United States watching as Colon blew up. I was in the United States watching as Chorrillo, where Noriega's cuartel blew up. And while CNN was talking about how things were looking, I knew the amount of dead bodies that laid in the fires and in the rubbles that would be eventually bulldozed into big, massive piles with no regards to humanity. When we handle things in an antiseptic manner like that, it changes the psyche of our people. And that's why we can now watch as the IDF, Israel, and Netanyahu blow the smithereens out of Gaza and not think about all those children whose fingers are displaced and over. One finger is in the rubble and another piece of his brain is somewhere else. And we look at it as if, remember they killed us first. Not true, but the antiseptic nature in which we can look at these things and not see it for the inhumanity that it is. That's why we need independent media to reveal and relay the messages as they really are, not as an oligarch who profits from the death of many for themselves. And this isn't utopia. This is just morality. This is just humanity. And you don't get that when your corporate dollars come from those who profit from said inhumanity. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, brother.
Hey, I'm going to apologize now because I might upset you. Sorry.
Upset me, brother. Upset me.
We're going to get off topic for a second. Brian keeps bringing up the wall between Gaza and Egypt. He sounds kind of silly because that's a product of the second Arab-Israeli war in the 1970s. They built the wall along the entire Egyptian-Israeli border. And they did that for both their interests. They've had two wars already in Egypt. If Israel didn't have a bomb, Israel would no longer exist because of what they did to Egypt and how badly they punished them. Egypt made a decision to stop going into Israel after they attacked them because they were concerned about the atomic bomb. But they are fortifying that wall. But there's probably a pretty good reason for fortifying that wall right now, and it's because Israel's currently at war with 6 different countries on their border, and Egypt doesn't want to leave a vulnerable area. There is a area in Rafah where they allow people through, so that's the exact opposite of what Brian was implying. They just don't let goods through because that's one of the ways that they control what the Palestinians get. So just about everybody's building a wall around Egypt or around Israel, and it doesn't have anything to do with hate for Palestinians or concern for Palestinians.
Okay, why am I going to be upset now, my brother?
Well, because it was off topic.
Oh, you forgot what I tell everybody. I tell everybody this is your show. All of you. People come and change the topic in it all the time. Anyway, anything else you want to add, Patrick?
No, I'm not sure if he's intentionally being deceitful or if he's just way uninformed or disinformed about it.
The right wing. I listen to right wing media as well. Okay, and the right wing is a best coordinated information machine, bar none. Let me give kudos to the right wing media. The right wing media is great. Everything is controlled. The bloggers, the writers, the authors, they all are on topic. They get their marching orders, and I'm not kidding you. You get the talking points, and if you notice, they all sing the same song on the same day. Just turn to any right wing station, and they're covering the same topics. They understand how to do things, and then people invest. They're invested in. That is a discipline that the left doesn't have. Not even the left independent media have. Right at Netroots, I spoke to I'm on Radio Row, and I speak to a whole lot of folks there. Free Speech TV, the Real News, the Real News Network, and all these other independent media. And I'm like, we are going to have to start realizing that independent silos, including independent progressive silos, do not work. You have to coordinate. And, a group of us got together and said, yeah, we are going to try to do better coordination in messaging because, again, the right wing has us blown apart completely when it comes to discipline and messaging to get a point across. Anything else, my brother?
Well, I'll tell you this. That brings to mind that my brother several years ago pointed out that if you've got enough money, it seems like almost anything's possible. And the conservative right-wing media has a ton of money, and they could do anything. But what they've decided to do is deceive us with it instead of doing good.
Exactly. And what I'm saying is to do good because the truth is on your side, right? Because the truth is on the progressive side. You do not have to spend the kind of money for deception. And when you don't have to spend that kind of money for deception, is that much easier to tell. But you have to be able to tell it. And that's what we're doing. Thank you very much, Patrick. Let's go to Coach. I see you at 3, Patrick. Let's go to Coach AJ.
Yes, sir.
Come on in, Coach.
Hey, Roberto, thank you for the kind words that you said to me at the end, that you wanted to help support our effort. I wanted to get your email. I'm having an event on September 3rd. It's a Wednesday. It's going to be a lunch and learn luncheon. And I'm bringing business, education, clergy, and the workforce together to try to create whatever the needs are in the community. I'd love to invite you.
Well, thank you. Drop me a line at kpft@politicsdoneright.com, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. And we are a community radio station. If you're having an event like that, prepare a little something for me to read on air, and you can come on air as well on my program and tell us a little bit more about it, because that is our function, community service. All right?
Yep. Yes, sir. Basically, I guess there's a lot of ways to go here. One way is, we got to do something for our seniors. Got to look out for our seniors. Our seniors have worked so hard to get to retirement, and some of them just can't work anymore. They've worked themselves out. So these jobs are very hard to work. I remember I was working in college. I was delivering beer and going down cellars and all that kind of stuff. I don't have the flexibility to do that. I'm glad I got an education and some certifications. And then we got to look out for our young people, man, school age, right? We have to give them a quality education. I never teach, when I teach, I try to elevate our students regardless of what they look like, what zip code they come from. And I try to give them a perspective of what they're going to deal with when they really get out here. Right now, in school, they feed you and all of that. But, when you graduate from high school, I always tell them, I say, hey, what you going to do? Because what happens is, who's going to feed you in August? If you ain't going to college, if you're not going to the military, right? There's a lot of kids that could make it. But we say, oh, we're here for the kids. We're here for the kids. The kids know if you're here for them, right? They look at the administrators a lot of the time and say, oh, I'm here for you. Say, no, you're here because you have to be here. Like even if they go to their football games or something, they're working. So kids understand that. So we need to stop trying to lie in their face, right? And just do what we're supposed to do for them, and just a little bit more.
Brother Coach AJ, and that's why we elevate people like yourself. I love me some teachers, man. I think teachers are the most important asset, the most important profession we have, bar none. That you are doing that, kudos to you. Kudos to my daughter who now has become a middle school teacher. Kudos to all the teachers that are here. I see Moses waiting to speak. I think Moses is a past teacher. You guys are the ones that move this community forward. Thank you. I got to go to other callers. AJ, thank you so kindly for your call. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to Moses. Come on in, Moses. Moses, you're a former teacher. Is that correct?
Yes, good morning, my brother. 35 years of it on
I
every
remember it.
area of it, from elementary, middle, high school, all international education, all of it.
Thank you so
And
kindly for your service,
that
my dear.
we teachers are the canary in the coal mine. And we've been warning and warning because we see the mess coming and nobody listens. But anyway, now, this is what I want to say this morning, and I'll be very short. As you spoke about when the enemy comes in, when Bush came in into Baghdad, and when they came in your country.
Panama,
But I
yeah.
specifically, I will never forget when Bush came down in Baghdad. I remember when Bush went into Baghdad. I stood up in the Walmart parking lot that day, and I listened as the blows fell on the people. And I was moved to write a poem. I'm not going to read the whole poem, but this is the gist of it. We stood there watching. It was like a John spreading licks on his prostitute. It was like a wife beating like a husband beating his wife, and everybody in the neighborhood listening, and some saying, it's not my business. And today, the blows are falling down on us because what goes around comes around. We have never known what it is to be refugees. We have never known what it is to suffer and to cry for our own leaders doing it to us, because we had always gone abroad to do it, to do the lies and the deceit. But now it is brought down to us. And we are now feeling everything that those people felt in their country when we sent our leaders in defeat, went to another country, robbed the people, did them wrong, and brought, like a dog brings vomit back to its people, brought the spoils of war back to us, as a dog brings vomit to its people. We are feeling it now. What goes around comes around. Thank you.
Thank you so kindly for that, Moses. And what's very interesting about your statement is that as we see what the Führer is doing in D.C. and has intent to do that in city after city, those who think they're safe, those who think that, well, that won't happen to me, there's an awakening coming if progressives are not successful in mitigating what's occurring right now. My contention is that we will be successful, but it's going to be a lot of work, and we have a whole lot of investment to make in getting that work done. Thank you so kindly, Moses. Let's go to Donald real quick. I'm going to have to ask everybody to shorten up. Donald, real quick.
Okay, there is no right, there is no left. It's just people in natural form. You got to realize the people in these higher positions, you're actually seeing their natural form. They're such narcissists that they treat it and they put on a mask so that you can't see their true intentions. Because anything a narcissist hates more is the truth. And they want everybody to like them, but they're evil. People are evil at heart, and they can only be changed by nothing. And there is no right or left. It doesn't matter who's in power. We are a fireworks manufacturer, and there's always going to be something started somewhere because we'll go instigate it. That's what we do.
You know, unfortunately, there's so much truth to that. What you're talking about is that's not what America does, though, my dear brother Donald. That is what the corporatocracy who is within America does, and it's up to us to educate ourselves, and that's what we're trying to do here. Educate ourselves to understand the snow job that's played on us. But Donald, I got to move on. Thank you so kindly for your words. Let's go to.
They entertain you. Talk to you later.
Yeah. By the way, he was about to talk about. I know where he was going. Food and circus. Look up food and circus. That's how crowns kept their power. Let's go to Bruce real quick. Come on in, Bruce.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bruce.
Can you hear me? Yeah. God bless Amy Goodman. Everybody knows in World War II that the press was guilty of portraying Japanese as subhuman with ridiculous caricatures and things like that. I'm old enough to give you a concrete example where they did that in Vietnam. on one of the commercial sites. All right, they had a story. They had a woman. They said that she had room to flee the fall of Vietnam in the boat. There was room for her and her baby, or her and her pig, but not both. So she chose the pig, saying, "I can make another baby." That story was total bullshit. When I was a teenager, I actually bought that story. Actually,
we can't use those words. Can't use those words.
Huh?
You can't use BS on the word fully word on air. I hope.
Oh, baloney, baloney. Oh,
Let's go to let's go to Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy. Bruce will talk to you the next time around. I think they blanked it out in time. Come on in, Jimmy.
I want to find out a little bit more about President George H.W. Bush sending soldiers into Panama to arrest Noriega for supposedly sending drugs to the United States. Did we have like 1,000 troops down there? Or tell us a little bit about what happened.
I don't have the time right now, Jimmy, but several thousand troops came to Panama, and they actually had Panama under martial law for some time, and it was a mess. Look up the Panama Deception, I think it's called. It's on I think it's on Netflix. There's a good documentary about it. But I tell you what, Jimmy, I'll send you an email on it. Okay. So let's talk a little. Let's talk a little later because I have a whole bunch of calls to do in 2 minutes. So thank you, Jimmy. I'll send you the email. Derek, give me about 30 seconds.
Yes, I don't think the people really realize just how wicked and low down these people are. I mean, these people are offering nothing but the illusion of wealth over the lives and the death of all these people. We got to get out of this illusion of wealth. Ladies and gentlemen, it's only paper that they're giving you. Take $100 bill and set fire to it and tell me, what do you have left? That's all I'm calling to say, bro.
Thank you very much, Derek. Let's go to Randy. Randy, line 4.
Roberto.
Egberto. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Egberto. Yes. Egberto. What is this about an atomic bomb?
What do you mean? Well, Amy was given a description of. Yeah, let me tell you about the atomic bomb real quick. Amy gave a description of the difference between independent media and corporate media, and she gave how the atomic bomb was using the atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki were described by the corporate media, and the realities that were told by those who followed the independent media path. It's two different versions of how it is. We just use that as an example of the difference between the reporting from the two medias. Okay?
Okay, not something that happened now.
Oh, no. You probably got in a little bit late, Randy. No, it's okay, Randy. No bombs yet. Okay?
Okay, great.
Thank you. Have a great day, Randy. All right, Brian, come on in real quick, 30 seconds.
Yeah, the majority of the wall is in the southern part of Gaza. After it goes about a mile from Gaza, there is no border wall in Egypt. It's only to keep Gazans out of Egypt. And you never watched the fall of Minneapolis, did you?
I don't need to. I actually saw what happened in Minneapolis, but thank you, brother.
How many nano?
Anyway, studio, come on in and give me a closure, guys.
Well,
all right. Yes, sir.
The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was an open-air atomic experiment framed under the idea of a strike to save American lives. At the time of the bombing, Japan was in surrender negotiations. The final argument was over what happens to their deity. So there was no need to drop the bomb.
Look, I mean, the thing about it is we are lied to so much, Jack. We are lied to so much in order for us to just go ahead, Mayana.
No, I was just thinking about how Amy was describing that they were incinerated and that the people were like on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just trying to imagine what that would be like to see and to walk through. You know, like you said, we don't know anything like that in America. And the idea that people are seeing that, it's a lot.
Yeah, right. And what we do to our own people here, we do it in secret. The reason after that piece, I played that piece, I brought up the New Mexico thing, is that we, we have a tendency to say, be quiet. We have a tendency not to fight back in what we're doing because it's only happening to those other people. It's only happening to those people in the ghettos. And if, for those of you who think it's only, let's say, minorities or so, you know who you don't hear about? Our brothers and sisters in Appalachia. There's a whole lot of crap happening in those hills that we don't know about. If we don't hear about it, if we don't see it, we leave it alone. Those people are in dire straits, no different than in the ghettos and the barrios. My daughter drove through some parts of Ohio and West Virginia, and my daughter called me from a cell phone in shock. Dad, I didn't know people could live like this. Okay, this is America. But you don't see the things that they don't want you to see. Those girls in 1945 who only most lived till under 40 years old, our government, under the auspices of our corporatocracy, who built the bomb, didn't think they were worthy. Those people were just rejects. That's how we treat those of us not in the corporatocracy, just rejects. That's all they were. Collateral damage. Colin Powell called Panamanians collateral damage. The 10,000 dead Panamanians were collateral damage for one man, Manuel Antonio Noriega, who was formerly working for the United States. All right, folks. Anyway, look, I love you all. The rest of the program is at politicsandright.com/newsletter. Email me directly at kpft@politicsandright.com, kpft@politicsandright.com. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!